Hey Entre fam, this is Young, and this is day 85, I think, out of 90, and day one of coming back from the Insight event. Now, there are a couple things I want to talk about, that I've learned from the Insight event. But first, I want to say that, even immediately after, the Insight event, you could call it, being tired, fatigued, or whatever, or whatnot, being a bit drained, because, again, we basically left right after the party around 10. That's when our Uber showed up and took us to the airport because our flight was at basically at one in the morning, and the ride to the airport was fine and everything. It's when we got to the airport where things started getting a bit frustrating. Yeah, and it's funny because it's funny how soon after the event that you'll start to get tested, right? In all the areas you've been going over all week or all weekend to improve yourself on. And so let me just give you a little rundown of what happened. So we got there and we got to check our bags in and whatnot, and it was just taking forever. And because there were a couple people, there was just, we don't know what they were doing, and there was only like 2 people checking in bags and things like that, so it was just taking forever, and we were getting a little antsy because we didn't want to miss our flight. That and and at the same time, while we were waiting, our daughter had an explosive incident. So on top of that happened, and so we were just kind of getting step by step a little more frustrated, and I think, as most of you may know, whoever flew in, Denver Airport is under construction, and at that time, late in the night, they basically shut down all security checkpoints except for one, and they have no signs anywhere telling you which one's open. So after we got our bags checked, we were going, and nothing was telling us where to go. We found a checkpoint, it was closed. Then this one airport employee was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I'll here, you go this way and that way." And there were other people who were just looking for where to go to, and they were even angrier than us because they've been looking for longer, I think. And he was like, "Okay, well, I'll guide you guys." And then he walked with us and whatnot. And then when we got to near one of the other checkpoints, he kind of just pointed to it, and we were like, "Oh, okay." Finally, we went. We got to the checkpoint. It was closed, and the guy who was guiding us disappeared. So we were once again frustrated, and then we went around even further through the airport. We don't know where we were, and I asked somebody else, and they told us another direction, and I was like, "Are you sure?" Because multiple people have told us different things, and they said they were sure. So we went, and sure enough, it was finally. And then throughout the checkout line, or not checkout, security. So when we were leaving for Denver, from our airport in Norfolk, Virginia, the airport there is a lot more lax. So they said we didn't even have to take any of our electronics out of our bags. We had our service, my wife's service dog, so she had like dog food and all that stuff. And for some reason, Denver was like, "You need to take everything out," and that was super frustrating because we thought, TSA, it's all the same, right? But I guess it differs per airport. I don't know. But so we had to so after the first time we went through, we had to take everything out, run our bags through again, and it was just taking forever. And yeah, so that was another frustrating event that piled on top of that. And then, by the time we got through there, we headed to our gate, which is when we decided I decided to go ahead and change my daughter out of her diaper, her explosive accident. And I realized that some of it had leaked out onto my shirt. I didn't have any change of clothes, so I did the best I can to clean that up. So here I was, just kind of frustrated and covered in not so good liquid material. But yeah, I mean, and then after going through all that, of course there was frustration, and we were agitated and everything. And once I got back to the gate and I sat down, I was tired at this point, because it was close to 1 a.m. and I had been up for almost 19 hours, and I was thinking, I was like, man, I just failed in every capacity, from what I just learned. And it was another crazy eye opening. I mean, just even from the exercise that we did, that was eye opening and whatnot. But it's just crazy how long it takes for you to really change. And I know it will take a while, because you have to continually build upon what you notice. But it is, I think, awesome that I recognized it. So yeah, just little by little, correcting yourself and learning. So yeah, that was definitely something I realized there, just how quickly again I reverted back to my base programming, right? So instead of living out the things I just learned. But anyways, the thing I want to share today, I know it's already been kind of long, is that something I learned from the event. I'm not going to go through the whole 3 days worth of what I learned, because that's going to take forever. But so I'll just kind of go piece by piece throughout the days. Now, what I learned is that we will get the bare minimum that we will tolerate. Yeah, so like, what is the bare minimum that you tolerate? I mean, like, it's, like your pay, like, right? You're like, okay, if I just have this much, I'll be okay. And that means you'll just get that much. You won't really get any more, right? And also that motivation is temporary, but that you got to take that motivation and get past it, because you can get motivated, and this is a prime example is everybody in New Year's, right? You're motivated to lose weight, and what happens? Motivation alone doesn't do it, right? You gotta get past it and get into inspiration, where you are just inspired to actually get results and things like that. So and another thing would be that that we can understand a lot but apply very, very little. Like, for example, like during the event, Todd asked, or not Todd didn't ask, but a lot of people kind of said to themselves, like, I've been with Entra since almost a year now, and I didn't implement anything, right? So, and there are some people who've been through the whole course and they didn't implement anything. So that's something we can do a lot. We get motivated, we learn about something, and then nothing happens, right? or very little happens. Um, so we got to really change that, and the only person who can change that is ourselves. Um, sure, there might be some people who are there for support, who might cheer you on, but ultimately, until you decide that you're going to change, that you want to change, it's not going to happen. And how do you know when you want to change? That's when you'll actually start doing it, consistently. Because, for example, like I've always tried to lose weight in the past, get back to kind of my younger weight where I was more fit. Like I said, I always say that I went from a 180-pound defensive tackle to a 280-pound couch potato. So, but once I came into Entra and stuff, and I was very inspired by Jeff's 3Ps and things like that. And saw where it all connected and such. I saw the value in that, and I truly got inspired, and I actually did the work. I started working out consistently, week in, week out, and I've consistently lost weight, a healthy amount. And one thing I think that's important is that was kind of like one of the themes in there, is that inside every person is a kid who said, what happened, right? Todd talks about like children being like these people who are just, who they don't take no for an answer. They have dreams, like they'll continually ask people until they get what they want, right? Like they'll ask their dad says no. They'll ask their mom says no. They'll ask their grandma says no. They'll ask their aunt, so on and so forth, until they get a yes. And when did we stop doing that, right? I guess we're taught that that's wrong, and because our parents have our best interest in mind. They don't want us to like be disobedient and whatnot and things like that. But when I think that is slowly taught out of us, like bred out of us, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. But that kid inside us just always had that dream and always sought it out. They dared to dream, imagine, and then that eventually, the world comes into their life and kind of slowly extinguishes that, right? And that kind of leads to the whole thing of 10 versus 10,000 is what Todd put it, is that we are scared of these 10 people in our lives, of what they'll think of us and what we're doing and whatnot, when there's 10,000 people who are waiting to hear our message, or are waiting to see what we have to offer, right? So that 10 versus 10,000 thing is really a good thought to have in mind, because then like what the kind of the stakes are, right? So and even in that 10 versus 10,000, then those 10 people, we always wait kind of for their permission, in a sense, like, because we're scared of what they'll think. Like, we're waiting for their permission for them to be okay with us living this way, being an entrepreneur, things like that. And we won't be able to truly succeed until we get these 10 people's approval, right? But if there's one thing that Todd really stamped into you through the whole event, is that if you bet on you, you will win. So that was really inspiring, and it really helps build you up, get rid of some of those limiting beliefs that you have in your mind. And yeah, I mean, there was actually, there was one other thing that he mentioned is that I kind of like this saying. He said that humans are great at being right, and I think it had like kind of a double meaning, at least to me. Like, the obvious, like humans don't like to be wrong. They want to be right, right? But also that whatever we say, whatever we do or go towards, that kind of is what happens almost in a sense. Like if you want to live, if you say you're not gonna amount to anything, you're just gonna, I'll just be comfortable, live this life, my life's not that bad. Yeah, you'll be right. You'll stay right there. But if you inspire, or if you're inspired to do great things, dream and want to keep going, and you tell yourself, I can do this, and I will be able to reach my goal of X, Y, and Z. Um, you'll be surprised that you'll prove yourself right, right? So yeah, that's a lot of things just were said, even just during that first day. And yeah, I mean, is that I think the two of the most important messages was to bet on yourself. It's not, there's obviously definitely being egotistical, selfish, things like that, but investing in yourself for growth, to be a better person, to want to make a better impact in the world, that is not selfish. And I think a lot of us feel that when we do that, we are being selfish. We're like, oh, this person has this problem, this person needs help there. How can I just put all these resources into me? Well, you got to think of it as just like, if you don't, there are so many people who are gonna end up paying a price because you didn't, right? More than if you did, right? So that, and being childlike, that was a really strong theme for me throughout the whole thing. Is just like, again, not taking no as a final answer, finding solutions like as children do, to get what they want. And another funny thing that Todd mentioned is that, when children ask here, ask there, whatever, whatnot, and they get caught, right? And like, for example, say like they're not allowed to have cookies, and then one day the kid goes and grabs that cookie jar and starts getting some and eating it, and then they get caught by one of the parents. And usually the kid's reaction is gonna be like, "You want some?" Right? And I thought that was a really awesome realization, that like we should be like that. Like we should go after the things we want. And when there are people who come into our lives and be like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" We be like, "Hey, you want to join me?" Right? I think that's a lot better response than putting up those walls and be like, "Oh, I'm just doing this and that. I'm not really doing anything," making kind of these kind of excuses, or like I said, saying things that make it seem like we need their permission to do what we're doing. So yeah, definitely that. And I think the biggest thing, definitely the biggest message, was the message of win-win, that we should, as entrepreneurs, always pursue the win-win. Like, we need to be able to be willing to put ourselves out there, stick our necks out there, and this is not, and Todd reiterated this, not to get trampled on, stepped on, and completely taken advantage over or whatever, and not sticking up for yourself. But we need to be willing to stick our necks out there for the win-win. When, say, there was a guaranteed win here, but the other party loses, but then there's this other riskier move that may produce a win-win, but could also produce a loss on my part and a win on their end, right? We need to be willing to stick our necks out there, like, to get that win-win solution. That's what entrepreneurs do. We we find solutions and help people, right? So yeah, this is a really long video, and I doubt people will watch it till the end, but that's kind of all the stuff that I got from the first day. So like I said, if I said too much, if I said everything from all the days, it was going to be way too long of a video. So yeah, that's all I got to say since it's already too long. But until tomorrow, stay awesome, mantra.